Okay, here we are again with Flippity, our Flump companion, and we're playing my Drow Ranger, Lyriandra, and she is able to do cool ranged moves and cool melee moves, and we're continuing on our saga of going through the Drow storyline, and the latest here is we are at this Whispering Post. So in this second campaign of the Underdark, we have delved into these districts and gotten enough experience now that we are asked to do some additional tasks. So first is we get a weekly quest to go back through that whole Cliffs of the Starless Sky, which was the intro scene we did when we approached with our friend Jarlaxle. Okay, so we're just doing that all over and again. We also get a intro to do the, what's called the dungeon. Basically the dungeon that came with this module. And the story you get here is, we've got a problem on our hands, Lyriandra. A beholder claiming to be a physical manifestation of Gzemnid has made his way into a nearby cave. He seeks access to the illithid hive mind and demanding we turn over all artifacts in our possession. Given the situation in Menzoberranzan, we cannot afford such a distraction. If this aberration truly contains the power of the gas giant, then we're dealing with a deity. If ever there was a time for you and your friends to live up to your reputation as the heroes of Neverwinter, that time is now. Okay, so who is Gzemnid, you might ask? That is an excellent question. Gzemnid, so hard to say that name, was the beholder deity of obscurement and deception, and son of the great beholder mother. He was the Underdark god of gases and fogs, sometimes known as the gas giant for his mastery of elemental air spells and renowned for his ability to evade and escape. So that is basically supposed to be about an 8-foot oversized beholder, sky blue in color, and was this kind of god that might send omens out and avatars out. And so then the question is, well, could this actually be this Gzemnid, or is he just maybe a beholder that had strange dreams and so on? So that's the kind of concept that's going on here. And in this dungeon, which I'll film separately next time it comes up, we get to take on the gas giant. It's actually quite wild a ride, so it's a pretty good watch. Also, going back to our friend Jarlaxle, he gives us a new quest. Nadir of the Narbondel. Travel to the Midnight Market. Malagdorl Armgo, these names are great, is meeting with a broker of information. We do not yet know what information he seeks, but we know it is dangerous. The great pillar of Narbondel's light and heat travel upward as the day rises on the surface world, then down again as night falls. Malagdorl will meet this broker at midnight, so you must also be present then. Wait until Narbondel's light reaches its nadir, then go into the Dulthcloim district and find Malagdorl and this broker. Find out what information he seeks. All right, so cool. We got the nice lore pieces here about the clock that we've talked about before that tells time. And as it comes down, it's midnight. If it's at the top, it's in the day. So we are going to go and check this out. And this is kind of neat because it's a good example of how games, and role-playing games too, can have subsystems in them that are just sort of like little mini games. And that's exactly what this is going to be. So we're going to go to our map. We're going to go to the Underdark area. And we see we have this Midnight Market. And this later will become a repeatable quest that we do kind of every week for the currency and the progression and all that jazz. But yeah, we start out and you see it's nighttime, and I don't know if we can see the Narbondel very easily, but if we could, the light would be kind of at its bottom. And the whole idea is that this is kind of closed off to create a little like sort of tunnel experience that we're going to have here. And you see this red zone up ahead. So what it is that there are patrols in this night market, and they, you see that guy there, market security. So we have to follow them and not getting into that zone of red that they can see from and hide behind these crates. Or, we can try to kind of leap past and see if that works. Sometimes we can just kind of pass someone. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to hide in this spot here so you can see what this looks like. You see there's another overlapping area coming our way from another guard. So if we'd gone forward, we could have thought about running by, but we'd probably get caught. So in this spot, we've got to wait till this person passes so we can go back in the way that we want to head. Gal, actually. So as they go past us, we will rush forward out of our hiding spot. And we see the red zone of the next person, and we can try to sort of evade them. And if you fail, they cast a spell that sends you out of the market, which is kind of cool. And and then when you come back through, there are bad guys who beat you up. You have to beat them up in addition to evading. So it's almost worth mechanically restarting when that happens, because it just becomes more trouble than it's worth. It's faster to restart than to have those fights. But it's a cool mechanic. I like the concept that, if you get caught, it gets worse. So we've avoided this first step of the security patrols, and now we see there are 2 Driders coming here. We're going to have to move quickly, but we can still do it because we've got a fast movement speed on our Ranger. So we've made it past the 2 Driders that are in that area, and I get a little sneaky reward. It's a little title, sneaky, that I can display as my character goes through. Kind of cool. I dig it. And yeah, so it's just, it's a little closed map system here. And we come up to this area where we're going to get a little cutscene as we come to observe the marketplace conversation. And again, I'm not quite sure where that Narbondel's supposed to be. We're somewhere at maybe it's not that we're at the foot of it and we're just at the time of its nadir. But yeah, creeping up to watch. I like the little kind of cutscenes.
The price you have demanded is paid, fiend.
So it is. And a pretty price indeed.
So Kevarl's getting paid to give information to this
Less than you believe.
Malagdorl
She was of no
character.
consequence to me.
As you say, and perhaps even as you believe.
And the information.
Yes.
So now we get this information, the Eye of Odran, an artifact. And I like the way the NPC speaks, sort of, I know where it lies and when it lies, which is always. But, Malagdorl has kind of no patience for this kind of talk. Just thinks he knows everything. Very strong. We'll learn more about him in a second. So it's at the bottom of the Clawrift, and it's sat there for more than a century. And that's when we get detected.
We are being watched.
No matter what we did, how well we tried to hide, here we go.
Assassins, kill them painfully. I have more important matters to attend.
So his assassins are sent to take us out. And in fact, every time we do the weekly, we kind of sneak through the night market and we just fight some assassins. So it's fine, it's good, no problem. So we'll fire arrows at these various assassins and try to take them out. They're not too hard, fortunately. One falls. Now my flump has taken on the second one. Ooh, they healed themselves. That's not fun. Almost had them. But in the end, both assassins are dispatched, and we can escape from the night market by going over to this little street sign and choosing our route out of here. So we come back to the night market, and we can talk to Zhaun'ol'leal. And this is kind of cool. When we say we've returned, they introduce yet another mechanic. So this is kind of cool. We had a mini game, right? This mini game of dodging, kind of hiding, which it could be fun in a D&D campaign to have that kind of a thing, right? Where it's just this special mechanics for sneaking through the night market, and whether you get caught or not. And now Zhaun'ol'leal tells us it's good that you've returned, but unfortunate that you were seen. Now he knows your face and at least suspects your allegiance. Before sort of an asset that we weren't known, but now he has assassins that Malagdorl can send at us. So there's a new system introduced where we're going to have this on our kind of screen, and when the eye is sort of fully open, an assassin gets sent at us. But actually it gives you cool currency, so everybody looks forward to it, which is kind of funny. Now, once we complete the quest, we get some additional quests that are sort of unrelated, really, free agents. And we get this contraband quest, which is kind of nice. It's a quick thing. My friends who were accosted into the Duthcloim district had their cargo confiscated, but it's not been moved far. They're hiding the goods. Let's go get it, basically, and free it, which is kind of a neat quest. Also, this menu gets updated. So we get who is Malagdorl Armgo, and he is the weapons master of House Barrison del Armgo. And for centuries, the second house of the city, so really strong, has favored large muscular drow as their weapons, but be careful for weapons masters. Be wary, though, he is more intelligent, more cunning than you might expect. What does he want? Glory, only glory. And basically, he wants the war that's coming, and he wants to prove himself as being really strong. And a weapon with which he can strike maybe the first blow. We also get what do we know about Kevarl, that kind of undead character, and that guy's a mystery. So he's undead, he's selling his knowledge to Malagdorl, but otherwise nothing. What do you suspect? I suspect Kevarl was once a noble of a great house of Menzoberranzan, but his name has been stricken from all records. Can't say more at this time. Okay. So that's fair, all the other stuff we'd asked about before. And now we can go and do this additional cargo quest that opened up, which takes us to the Duthcloim district is the closest location. So we are now at the top of the map that we've been before. There's actually an incursion, heroic encounter going on right now. So we'll see if that happens to be going on. If it is, it's kind of fun. If not, we'll just kind of peer in at it. Yeah, no one's doing it. It is rough. They have some really hard-hitting driders that come at you. You have to take them out. You have to take out some goods that are around the pillars. And then you have to face sort of this main boss that's kind of a stronger version of what we're about to meet, this contraband officer, what's his name? Bailiff. So the idea is, again, in this quest, the goods that were taken from all of our allies are currently here, not yet moved. So we're going to strike fast and take them before they can move them. Cool concept. So he's on this mount, which is cool, and he can leap out at us from his riding lizard, which is neat. He also has this sort of like slow gallop. It's like a charge, but slow, which is kind of cool. And I like that because it's kind of like just a neat visual. Yeah, he'll just kind of come across the map and but he bowls everything under, and he does actually a lot of damage doing that. Especially in the big heroic encounter, it's brutal when he does that, and you don't get actually any warning. So it's just like your character just dies because you just decided to do that. It's a fun heroic encounter. It's hard. You need a lot of players to do it. I don't know if I'll get a chance to capture it on video because so many people are not doing it anymore, but it's very cool to see. All right, so we took him down, and now there's all that cargo, and we get to take the quote-unquote contraband back to our location. Turn in the contraband and make sure it doesn't say anything else interesting. You brought back my wayward cargo. I have a somewhat special item, the Mindbleeder. This is the tool by which we find the Eye of Odran before Malagdorl can acquire it. Okay. Yeah, this part's pretty dark. So we get this item given to us, but I think we've not made enough progress to unlock the next step. So we've been given some kind of item called a Mindbleeder. And we will find out what that is when we unlock the next step. All right, so here we are again. We talked to Vasily, turn in that how we rescued the blaspheme that had been captured. We took down the loyalist documents, then we get deliver supplies again, take down loyalists. So we start seeing the repetition that happens in an MMO where we're just going to get the same quests over again. It may be that we've seen all the quests here. What I'll do is I'll check returning the explosive espionage that we took down so that the spies can move through, and we took down demons. And now we get, this one's different, we didn't do it, hide listening devices. You basically go to the places that demons are, and there's like a little spot in the ground you can interact with, and the idea is that you're hiding a listening device. Again, the whole point is that this whispering location is supposed to be able to listen in on these districts, but okay. I don't know. And that one we already had before. So yeah, at that point in the campaign, it begins to sort of repeat. But look, we managed to do some things. So one is we unlocked some fashions, which is, you know, kind of cool. Actually, we can look at it from here. Let me open them all here. Boop and boop. And so you can see kind of the cool Drow fashion that you get. Kind of cool. That's neat. You know, if you provided a slight magic benefit to that, you know, I think that that a lot of folks would, in a role-playing game, would find that neat. You can convert these to appearance items, and then you can wear them whenever you want to look like that. We also, as I was talking about, the way that you can sort of improve your character, even though you're already 20th level, is periodically in campaigns you get these things called boon points. And this is going to let me improve my character by a kind of tiny, almost imperceptible amount, because that's how clever they are. So if I go to my character screen, you can see these like percentages, and this is a whole complicated thing that I would honestly feel dirty even explaining it to anybody. Plus it changes all the time. But you can take something like your chance to avoid a critical hit and increase it by 0.2%. Woo! Yes, that's heroic play right there. So that's what happens in games instead of getting to 21st level. You just get this tiny little beneficial thing that you can't even, you know, feel when you play. Not my favorite approach. No. There's lots of fashion gear, so we had unlocked that. So as you can see, actually going back to here, we still can do a fair amount this week, which unlocks quests and will get us to here, which will create another story point. What we're looking for is to unlock some different story pieces that will bring more variety to the campaign, both because that's fun and it will unlock ways that we can just do those weekly events and kind of advance the campaign instead of having to like endlessly be working with endlessly having to sort of run the same things over and over again, right? Something different that gives a large unit of currency. You can just play that, and you may advance slower, but at least every week you can make progress when you have more than one character, and that's kind of what I tend to do. So now I've got to just go do these quests over and over again until I finish. So it's been a week, caught up on quests, unlocked the next step in this campaign, and when we hit this part, we get a new quest, which had sort of been alluded to. So the mind bleeds. Travel to the edge of the Clawrift. Cool. This dagger, if used correctly, can extract thoughts and memories from a target, willing or otherwise. Okay. A dagger that pulls things out of your brain. A little bit dark. A little bit. It is nearly out of power. I have not found a way to replenish it, but it should have enough for one more use. Okay. Very good thing to do in Dungeons & Dragons tabletop campaign. Here's this one-shot thing. You know, it's out of charges after that, but I'm giving it to you to use. That way, if you keep it, you can't abuse it because it's spent. The information broker Kavarl says the Eye of Odran is in the Clawrift, so to the Clawrift you must go. Find a denizen of that place which may have encountered this artifact and use the Mindbleeder to extract the information. Boy, that is dark. Bring me the dagger holding the memory, and I'll retrieve the information we need. Okay, I cannot decline this quest, so I must accept it. That is, however, some dark stuff. Okay, yeah, like just let's go knife a guy in the head, I guess. And as we're going to see, it's not just any old person. It's in some weird circumstances I don't really quite understand. But so here we are. We're back in our main zone area here, and we're going to go all the way to the Clawrift, off to the side. So we'll just run by this way, and we can just, well, maybe you'll enjoy that. We could skip this, or maybe I'll show this footage of kind of going through the city again, because it's kind of neat to remember. And going into this Clawrift area here, we enjoyed going through here, the Illithid Mind Flare area. Lots of Drow everywhere. The neat scenery. Some cool visuals here for sure. And it takes just a bit to kind of get to the edge of the Clawrift. So here we are, that huge chasm. I don't recall if the game keeps me from running down there or not. There's a some worshippers of Baphomet here. This is a heroic encounter where you can fight them off, and then sort of Baphomet type creature shows up. It's just that. So I will continue here. Oh, I'm in the wrong active quest. We'll go a little further here. So there we are, and it's neat to see that there are other areas of Drow habitation on the other side of the Clawrift. Oh, this is kind of fun. So there are some special creatures that you can find and sort of hunt down. They give you rewards. So this is an acolyte of Gzemnid. We heard about Gzemnid, the beholder, that seems to have some really interesting ideas about itself and maybe be the fragment of a god. Maybe not. So we can fight this acolyte here and take him down. And yeah, beholders are interesting. You can dodge their eye rays. The versions in this game, unlike the D&D version, tend to just do sort of damaging stuff. Sometimes they'll stun you and do damage, but it's everything damage, which is, I think, honestly one of the problems with the 5th edition beholder is that it has a lot of things that don't do damage. So if I go in that ray, and maybe I'll let it do some things to me. So it'll bite, it'll zap me. It's just damage. This thing here, it'll stun me. So you can see instead of being an anti-magic ray, it's like a stun ray. And that's fine. It means that it can be a threat and deal damage to me. It's not particularly hard in this case, but it's cool. And you get to raid its treasure chest. I mean, that's fun. Who doesn't love that? So, all right, now truly do our mission here, which is to go to the this area here, which I don't know what it's supposed to be. So there are shades here who are kobolds. So given the story we know, shades or kobolds were hired by the inhabitants of the Clawrift, the House, is it Oblodra, I think. So we kind of, to get to where we want to, we're going to have to take out these weird sort of worshipping or protecting shades that are around some sort of circle. And you can take them all out or not. It's up to you. Looks like they're... Oh, they didn't like me. Looks like they're maybe... It's hard to tell what their animation is, if they're digging or they're just sitting there idle. We have to kill some of them. You've got to get kind of close enough to do the thing. They have to take out some of these hurler shades and whatever. Just various types of kobolds that are in shade form. And then you get to here, which is... what does it say? Oh boy. Gotta fight more. Sometimes you have to fight them all, and it's really annoying because this is not hard, and it just takes a while. Alright, so we've taken these shades down, and now we get to Kegru the Psi-Touched. And so sitting in this little, I guess, protective shield is this kobold. Now, the House of, I think it's Oblodra, was psionic in nature, so this must be a psionic kobold from the house. And it doesn't really show us, thankfully, what we did, but I don't know, do we just knife him? It's not clear. Theoretically, we knifed him in the skull, but he's not dead, so I don't know. Maybe this artifact, you just touch it to his head, which is really weird for a dagger that extracts memories, but it's entirely possible. So let's map travel back to the Underdark and the Whispering Post, and see what Jarlaxle has to say about the information we got out of this kobold. I've returned with the Mindbleeder. The dagger is veritably glowing with information, is it not? Perhaps too much, perhaps enough to drive one mad should one choose to press it to the temple. Okay, yeah, so maybe, yeah. So I guess the idea is that Jarlaxle is going to just press it to his temple. So maybe it just really was a press thing we did against that kobold. Now Jarlaxle does it to pull in all this information. And there we are. The Eye of Odran, which does seem to have driven our kobold friend quite mad, is far down the Clawrift in the ruins of a fallen house. So maybe the kobold was driven mad by the artifact. And it's here that he says, if my own memory serves, as it always does, would have to be House Oblodra itself, a cursed place indeed. So we've completed this quest. We know where the artifact is, and we have to retrieve it because we know that we have other people who are trying to get to it, right? And he says, Jarlaxle tells us, an acquaintance of his is here to sort of help. And hey, look, it's going to be Drizzt Do'Urden, my longtime friend and ally. I mean, sometimes they've opposed each other, but sure. Has arrived in Menzoberranzan, and I fear he is more suitable to the task at hand than I am. I don't know why you fear that. Go meet Drizzt Do'Urden, the famous ranger. He will escort you to the bottom of the Clawrift, to House Oblodra itself, and will recover the Eye of Odran. Okay. Interesting. Weird. Hey, there's Drizzt Do'Urden and his panther. What's up? Just two Drow rangers here talking to each other. Totally on equal terms.
Well met.
So we're going to... Well met. I had not expected to find many peaceful moments here in Menzoberranzan, and the city has lived up to my expectations. We must prepare ourselves for the coming journey. The Clawrift is a dangerous place, even by the standards of the Underdark. Alright, sure.
Anything else?
Ruinous revelations. I am making my final preparations for the descent to House Oblodra, and so should you. The Clawrift is dangerous, growing more deadly the deeper you descend, and the ruins of the fallen house will be far down indeed. When you are ready, make your way into the Clawrift. I will meet you there. Together we will find this artifact, this weapon, before Malagdorl Armgo can seize it for himself. There's Guinevere the Panther stretching wildly. And we can ask him, what do you think about Menzoberranzan? It's a prison. I am fortunate to have escaped. It is my hope that someday this place can be cast open, its citizens freed from their captor, but until then, merely seek to help those who wish to escape. Why are you here? That which happens here will flow forth through the realms. The rumblings of conflict within the city have drawn much attention. I'm here to do what good I can while I'm able for as many people as possible. What do you think of what do you think of the Clawrift? Many rifts and chasms in the city. None like the Clawrift. Yeah, okay. Bad creatures, all sorts of horrible things, but mostly kobolds, in honesty. The Drow have for centuries exploited the kobold clans that dwell among the cliffs of the Clawrifts, taking them as prisoners. And that's true in the lore of House Oblodra specifically. He was there very rarely when I was young. Much of the Clawrift was controlled by House Oblodra, a mysterious and dangerous noble house of Menzoberranzan, feared by all. So there's no reason for me to go there. Now in my return, I have no desire to be in the Clawrift unless absolutely necessary. And heard any rumors, battle lines have been drawn, so it goes. There's war. And just a bit on House Oblodra, because it is a quite interesting place. This is technically a dead house, which happens sometimes. The compound in the Duthcloim district on the edge of the Clawrift had a bunch of kobolds that they kept. Apparently they said that they had 600 kobolds as soldiers, but the Clawrift apparently had tens of thousands. And so a lot of people thought that Oblodra's claim of 600 was false. It was a relatively small compound, but spacious relative to the number of inhabitants. And the rare thing they had about the house was they had very powerful psionics in its member, and they were very dedicated to psionics. They're considered reckless by the rest of the city, and there was a number of attempts that they may be trained with and even bred with illithids. I don't know quite how that works, but I guess some sort of, using illithid capabilities to, I don't even know what that would be, because they don't reproduce like we do. So I'm not entirely sure. But House Oblodra eventually tried to gain control, as so many houses do. And this was during the time of troubles when the gods had sort of forsaken the land and magic was unpredictable. House Oblodra became the most powerful house briefly. They attacked another house. And House Baenre, who were kind of involved with a fair bit in this adventure, made a deal with the Balor, the demon Ertu, who sent demons to aid House Baenre, and they attacked House Oblodra, and a tentacle was summoned from the abyss to sweep the entire house into the Clawrift. I just think that's such cool lore. So, and then the head of the house, Kjorl, remained alive, but Yvonne, the head of House Banry, banished her into the abyss to be tortured for eternity by the demon Balor, heir to. Wow. There were a few survivors here and there. But yeah, so that's kind of the story behind the Clawrift. I mean, grief. That's a lot. So let's go take a look at what this Clawrift looks like. It's relatively cool as things go. Here it is, Ruins of House Oblodra. And yeah, we're going to find some lore when we arrive. It says just a little bit out of here. 1358 DR is when it was destroyed, at the year of Dale Reckoning. That's the calendar. During the time of troubles, when magic ceased to function and became unpredictable, psionics remained, and that's really why they were so powerful. Is they had psionics. A lot of other houses had magic, so and they didn't need the access to their gods to be powerful. So they tried to seize control. But yeah, and you get the nice little summary there. The matron mother banished to the abyss. Here's Drizzt meeting us in the tunnels of the Clawrift that we somehow kind of took a door to get to. You can see some neat mushrooms. The lighting is different here, all purplish and red, and yeah, really neat. And Drizzt will say a number of things, like he's saying right now, about the energy of this place being different. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, but okay. And hey, look, we get kobolds. So the first time I did this mission with a different character, I was kind of like, why kobolds? And then I was like, all right, I got to look up the history of House Oblodra. And that's when I realized, they did a really nice job with the lore in this game of playing, playing off of the fact that there actually should be kobolds as troops here, because that's who they employed. Yeah, cool. It looks neat. Really nice looking tunnel. We got a few more kobolds here, and then we'll be done with the kobold madness. Kobolds, it's fun. Even in this game, kobolds are sort of not a super fun thing to fight. Even if they're scaled video game style to be, a proper threat or whatever. They're not super fun, but we can elude them and go this way. It's always interesting in actual tabletop game when you're playing D&D and you're like, well, do I just throw kobolds because that's what should be here? Or do I make them super powerful kobolds? I don't know. So one of the things we're going to find is shades. Again, that theme of shades of Bruenor Battlehammer. So I think what this is trying to hint at, I mean, one thing is just an excuse to be like, oh no, what? We're fighting Bruenor, but it's his shade. It's not a real version. So I think it's the idea of tying to Netheril, as we've seen so many ties in the past with the Netherese. I'm not 100% clear why that is, but maybe they could also just be saying that somehow the same energies that caused the Netherese to turn to shade, maybe some of that was involved with the fall of House Oblodra. I'm not aware of that kind of lore, but that could be what's happening. I have not read all of the Drizzt Do'Urden books that touch on these kinds of events, so it's entirely possible. So we'll go through here. We will go deeper into, I think, the ruins of the houses, the idea of what's going on here. So it looks, it's basically architecture we've seen before, kind of stretched and distorted and fallen apart. And hey, look, there are Drow. Don't ask me how they eat. I guess they're all eating mushrooms. You think they would be like incredibly surprised to see us and would not just attack us, but would go like, whoa, can you help us get us out of here? Because this isn't, you'll see here, this is not an active house, right? It's not like these folks are doing any of the Drow stuff that normally people do or anything like that. These are like, this house is not connected to anything. So I don't quite understand why we're fighting Drow. Always important to, in a Drider especially, like, what is Lolth connected to these folks? I don't know. Also, that happened a long time ago, so there'd have to be enough Drow to, like, I don't know, be reproducing or something. It's all, I don't get any of it. It's been a couple hundred years, at least more than 100 years since this house fell, so I don't quite get it. But we're going to fight another shade after we get our loot. This time it is the shade of Drizzt. Hey, it's Drizzt versus Drizzt. Yep, that's kind of weird. But so it goes. Sometimes you fight yourself. That is a very D&D thing. There are a number of ways in D&D you can fight yourself. like the Mirror of Opposition, which is a magic item that what you see, and when you see a reflection, it summons a version of you. And what was amazing about the Mirror Opposition in its original rules back in the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons type days is that it would summon like really like you. And so it was sort of like, you know, played correctly, a 50% chance whether you're going to live or not. Because, I mean, you're fighting yourself, right? If the whole party looked into the mirror. And so the you know, what often happened was not everybody looked in the mirror. And that way you only got, you know, a couple of characters who were summoned, and thus you could win and be victorious. But it was interesting. And truth be told, I just got beat up a fair amount. But here's a little campfire just in time. And now we're getting the central chamber here. And we're going to find kind of the plot. I don't know. So first, a shade. The shade of Catti-brie. So another of the companions. So we had Bruenor, we had Drizzt, and this is Catti-brie, who is sort of the adopted daughter of Bruenor Battlehammer. You know, similar kind of, there have been a number of sort of Catti-brie and they have sort of things they do, and so she does the Catti-brie things, which are cool. Catti-brie's a neat character. Often doesn't get the attention it should get in the novels. Eventually becomes Drizzt's wife. Yeah, it's, you know, it's a fight. But then, hey, look at that. Well done. You found my eye, but unfortunately all your effort is wasted. The eye is, after all, you know, mine or whatever, I think is what he's saying. I have to look at what the description is. I'm getting attacked. I'll look it up later. But yeah, so now Kavarl, who we saw, you know, in the night market, was meeting with, I forget his name now, the Drow guy from the other house who wanted the eye. Sort of revealed the location to the eye to him in exchange for coin, like apparently a lot of it. Sort of saying, well, you don't really want this artifact. But now apparently Kavarl wants it, which I don't know why I didn't get it before. And maybe Kavarl is from House Oblodra. I don't know. This is the kind of thing that I just don't quite understand what the plot is going here, and what even, you know, like I know a lot about lore, right? So a lot of these things, they're not necessarily for me, but what's the average player supposed to get out of this? I have no idea. I'm confused about it myself, and I know a lot of things, so I just can imagine for a lot of people this is just like, I don't know, kill the withered lich dude and fair, you know. But this is also a really annoying fight where like you just have all kinds of denial. You have dudes who push you around, you have like rays that stun you, like it's just a consistent you can't do what you want to do kind of fight, which I am not a fan of. I'm not a fan of it in D&D. I'm not a fan of it in Neverwinter. Alright, I have defeated him. He's a lich, so he's not really dead. As I fall, your victory shall prove fleeting. You are feeble-minded fool. The eye will destroy you completely. So he's a lich, so he goes back to his phylactery. That doesn't mean he can talk, though magically. He was able to somehow talk. I don't know. You know, last dying gasp kind of thing. And hey, I can examine the Eye of Odran. I examined it. Drizzt just kind of turns his back and doesn't do anything. I leave the area. And I go to the Whispering Post. And I'm like, well, you know, apparently the eye was supposed to be terrible, and I just went and touched it. And let's talk to Drizzt.
You did well in there.
Only a truly strong mind could survive the onslaught of that place, and now we have this Eye of Odran, this weapon Malagdorl sought. I know not what it is for, but I'm glad it did not fall into his hands.
Anything else?
And I can speak with Jarlaxle. Drizzt has to go off and do stuff. You should take the Eye of Odran to Jarlaxle. He's 5 feet away, dude. The tensions simmering Menzoberranzan have not erupted into war yet, in no small part due to actions. So work with Jarlaxle. So basically it's just a spot appearance by Drizzt. Thanks, Drizzt. Take care. And now Jarlaxle says, you got it. There's more work. Hang around. I'm so confused by this plot, right? Like, I don't know what just happened. So, you know, here we are in Menzoberranzan, and we've got a lot left of this campaign to do. And I don't really know what just happened. I mean, I guess at the surface level of it, there's war simmering between these two sides. We're on one side because they're the good, non-Lolth influenced, dominated side. So we're trying to get rebels, although it started with the idea of don't start a rebellion, but we're clearly starting a rebellion. And we learned that this one of these power players was going to try to get a powerful artifact, so we take it. Now, what will happen eventually is that we will actually receive it when we get to, when we do a bunch of these activities, we will eventually get because you can rebuy it, so you can see it. Oh, I guess I can't see it because I haven't unlocked it yet. But you can actually get the, it'll show up on this screen here, just as yet. You can get the Eye of Odran artifact. And maybe it's available here. Yeah, so you can get this artifact, and it lets you tap into the Illithid hive mind, which is interesting, to receive Illithid sight. You lose some hit points. I guess that's the idea. If it's dangerous to you, you can get various mechanical benefits. And it just says that it allows you to peek into the hive mind of the Illithids, temporarily granting great power, but at a cost. So maybe that's just all that it is, right? This is going to be a powerful weapon. Now we have it. We can eventually use it. But it seems like a lot more lore than was necessary for what was going on. So there we are. We again got this sort of campaign thing. We have to earn all of this currency before we unlock anything else. The good news is we now have a bunch of things that are sort of like weekly, so it goes faster. But story-wise, we're seeing a lot of what's happened here at this point until we really get to the very next part of the campaign. So there we are.